All right, armed with some techniques to simplify complex fractions, let's go ahead and see them at work. All right, so when I'm looking at what I have here, right, what I have is the fraction 3/4 minus 2/7 and the fraction 1/2 plus 1/10. So again, what I'm going to do is find a common LCD that everybody goes into. All right, and so looking at this, right, I know that 4 and 7 both go into 28, 2 and 10 go into 20, right? And so I don't know if it's the lowest one. Actually, yeah, I mean, we're just going to probably have to work with that, the 280, right? Because we got 4 and we got 7 is 28. 2 already goes into there, right? And the 10, right, I need that to go in there, right? And so I think if we just multiply by 10, I don't know if that's the lowest one. I guess I should do what I commonly do, right? 2 times 7, 7, 2, 2, and 5. So we'll start with 2 and 2, right? Pack on the 7, pack on the 5, and yeah, sure enough, what we got is actually 28 times 5. So it is a little smaller. 8 times 4 is 0, carry the 4, and it looks like 140. All right, so yeah, so 140, so it is smaller. So what I'm going to do with that is multiply top and bottom by 140. What this looks like now, right, is 3/4 times 140 plus 2/7 times 140. Let me write it that way, right? We're going to distribute that. And on the bottom, I have 1/4 times 140 over 1, if you need to see that, plus 1/10 over 140 over 1. And so doing the math, right, how many times does 4 go into 140? Right? Well, 4 looks like 35 times. And so 35 times 3 leaves us with 15, 105. So we have 105 plus, how many times does 7 go into 140? Well, 7, 2, it looks like 20 times the 2 leaves us with 40. Below, how many times does 2 go into 140? Well, 35 looks like 70 times, and then times 1. And then 10 goes into 140 14 times. All right, and so doing my addition, I have 145 all over, it looks like 84. All right, and so there's my fraction. The only thing I need to do is make sure that it's simplified. So if we kind of break some stuff down, 84, right, is 2 times 42. That doesn't go into 145. This is 6 times 7, and then 2 times 3. So 7 doesn't go into 145. 3 doesn't go into 145. 6 doesn't go into 5. Yeah, so I think this is it. There's our answer. So there's nothing to simplify, and we're done. So you got a chance to kind of relive our LCD talk, this idea of multiplying both top and bottom by 1, clearing the fractions, and being done with it. So there you go. So that's that in place. So the next one, a little simpler. It looks a little weird because we have some whole numbers here, but this is just 3 over 1 and 2 over 1. And when I look at my LCD, right, it looks like it's going to be 12. So I'm going to take 3 and 1/4 and multiply it by 12. Take my 2 minus 1/3 and multiply it by 12. So when I distribute that in there, 3 times 12 is 36. 4 goes into 12 3 times, so we have plus 3. 12 times 2 is 24. Minus 3 into 12 goes in 4 times. So we're left with 39 over, it looks like, 20. All right, and so there's our fraction. The only thing that needs to remain is, you know, is it simplified? And 39, it's 1, 3, 13, and 39 are the factors of 39. None of them go into 20, so there's our answer. All right, so this balancing act, finding your LCD and multiplying the top and bottom by it, makes things relatively simple for us. So there you go. Now the next one, we got choices here, because if you look at this really closely, it's a complex fraction, but I already have a fraction divided by a fraction. So perhaps, you know, the top's a fraction, the bottom's a fraction. So maybe just performing the division is the easiest thing here. So I'm going to do that. So we got a plus 5 over a squared and we're dividing it by a minus 2 over a. And so division is the multiplication, right, of a reciprocal. And so in this case, you can see there's an a that'll go in itself once and go in there, right, a times, and nothing else is there. So it looks like we have a plus 5 all over a minus 2. And I can clearly see there's no factors in common, right, because there's no a plus 5s, there's no a minus 2s, and there's no common factors of a. So there's our answer. So that one was relatively easy since it was already in a nice simplified form for us. If you wanted to, we could multiply both top and bottom by a squared, right? The a squareds will cancel out, leaving us with a plus 5, and a will cancel out with one of the a's, leaving us with exactly what we had. So that's what that balancing act would have looked like if we'd have stayed with it. Alrighty? Let me do one last one, and then I'll cut to another video to do these last two, since we're about 6 minutes into this, and I don't want to go too much longer. So looking at this guy, right, the denominator upstairs is an x and a 4. So my LCD at the moment is 4x. And then looking down below, we also have a 4 and an x, so 4x. So 4x is my LCD. So I'm going to take the top fraction and multiply it by 4x. And I'm going to take the bottom fractions and multiply it by 4x. So I'm multiplying both top and bottom by 4x. Distributing, right, the x's will cancel out, leaving us with 2 times 4, so that leaves us with 8. The 4's will cancel out, leaving us with an x squared. Okay, on the bottom, the 4's cancel out, leaving us with a 3x, and then minus the x's cancel out, leaving us with an 8. And the top, if we write it in descending order, and the bottom's already there, there's nothing common here, so we're finished. All right, this is not the difference of squares. It's the sum of squares, which doesn't factor, and that's already one complete factor by itself. So there's nothing that will simplify that. All right, so that's our first round of using that multiplication by 1, that balancing act. Although here I didn't use it, I just did the straight division. But that's basically how it works. Find your LCD, multiply both top and bottom by it. That basically clears the fraction, and then simplify what's left if you can. And all these examples, there was nothing more to simplify, but that's going to change here pretty soon. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and switch gears, and we'll come back down here and do these problems below, but I'll do that in another video coming soon.